There is a meme that goes around on social media often, and it says something to the effect of this. It is a really difficult time to be intelligent and an empath at this moment in time, in this timeline of our history. You know how they say ignorance is bliss? Um, I wish that we could all exist in this blissful place. I know that if you are here in a part of damnation, you definitely are not ignorant. You definitely are trying to unlearn the indoctrination. You're definitely trying to make sense out of the nonsense, which is the purpose of the Danielle Moody show. It's like, how do we make sense of the crazy? But with so much being thrown at us all the time, so much that is created to discombobulate our nervous system, to have us attack our sense and our mind and make us feel as if we are losing it. It is really hard, right? To be a person that is smart, that is analytical, that wants to ask questions in this moment that you know that you're not going to receive answers to. You know that you're just being lied to. It's hard to sit back and think to myself, wow, I mean, I thought that Donald Trump was a trash human in 2015. I thought Donald Trump was a trash human back in the late 80s and early 1990s when he tried to have 5 innocent Black children executed by taking out an ad, right, against the now exonerated 5. I thought Donald Trump was a piece of garbage as he cheated on wife after wife and was celebrated because he had wealth and whiteness. I mean, but now with all that we know, adjudicated rapist has been credibly accused of raping a child. So a pedophile, an abuser, that was alleged by his first wife, who said that he raped her and physically assaulted her. Not to mention the countless women that have come out over the years of this man's disgraced 79 years on this planet. But now, given even more power, the power to kill us all, the power to start World War III, the power to grift because, of course, his sons are investing in a drone company because drones are making tons of money right now. Of course, it was just uh, made mention of the fact that Barron Trump, bought a couple of barrels of oil before the war in Iran started because this grifting ass, dirty, slimy, disgusting, pedophile filled family doesn't know anything else. So, folks, it's just you sit back some days and you think to yourself, 77 million people. I mean, I knew that America had deep seated issues, but 77 million Americans said to themselves, mm-mm, my racism, my misogyny will not let me elect a Black woman and an Asian woman. No, no. My misogyny and my racism, you know what? It could cost me my life. It could cost me my livelihood. But doggone, in my casket, I'll still be white. It's really remarkable when you bring it down to the granular level, because I know that reporters and mainstream corporate media love to roll up on middle America diners to talk to white people, but they actually never really want to unpack the psychosis of racists and misogynists, of those that are avowed misogynists and just hate women, hate Black people, hate LGBTQ people to their core. They never actually really want to understand what makes this person so broken that you would go ahead and bankrupt your farm, you would go ahead and lose your job, lose your home, all so that a Black woman and an Asian woman couldn't become president of the United States. That you would believe anything that Donald Trump told you. You would even wear a diaper on your ear because he told you he was shot. You would even start walking around in diapers because it's been said that he wears one and shits himself regularly. And you say real men wear diapers. I actually saw a woman at one of his rallies back in 2024 wearing a sign that said that. At the hate monger rally that was put together by January 6er, I think his name is Jake Lang, right in front of Gracie Mansion, where two men were arrested for trying to activate homemade bombs. There was a man that was marching behind that Islamophobe, racist, misogynist piece of shit that had a sign, folks, that said, "I am Jeffrey Epstein. We are Jeffrey Epstein." That what is so broken inside of your brain and your heart that you would rather identify with a sex trafficker and a pedophile because he's rich and white than find common purpose in the immigrant or the Black person or the queer person? It truly is something that really does not get enough attention because you see, the reality is we want to pathologize every other group, every other race, every other ethnic group, every other religion outside of Christianity. We want to pathologize, write reports extensively, think pieces extensively on crackpot science that elevates the reason and the cause for white nationalism and patriarchy. But never do the work to figure out the mentality of people that would rather drain a swimming pool than integrate, that would rather die of whiteness than take health care from a Black man. There really is something broken in this country. And Donald Trump is just the avatar of that brokenness. There's a lot to unpack today, folks. Welcome to the Danielle Moody Show. Let's get into it. Hello, damnation, and welcome to the Danielle Moody Show, where we are trying to hold on to our wits and our humanity in the face of the depraved. So we begin today with Donald Trump, who, funny enough, yesterday seemed to be trying to find a way to walk himself out of taking responsibility for this war. And I want you to take a listen. And you know, I hate listening to this man, but I want you to take a listen to what he says here when talking about how we got into Iran in the first place.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
you hear what he says. Based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco was very involved. I thought they were going to attack us. And Mehdi Hassan has a good analysis here. He says two possible things going on here. One, Trump, the man child, was manipulated into this war by people around him with their own political, Marco Rubio, financial, Witkoff and Kushner, religious, Hexeth agendas. Two, Trump is trying to divert the blame for this unpopular war onto others, because doesn't that sound like Trump's consistent pattern? If it's popular, it's all his idea. If it begins to stink, as most of the shit that comes out of this White House does, well, he'll find somebody else to blame it on. So he's like, oh, well, Marco, very involved, right? Very involved. Hegseth, yes. Pete's, Jared. It was everybody else's idea. Well, we already know, folks, that Netanyahu dog walked his ass into this war in the same ways that he tried to bring Biden into war, bring Obama into war with Iran, with the same line of, it's imminent. They're gonna attack us. What will you do to defend us? And everyone else with sense over the 40 years that Netanyahu was trying to find the right American puppet president to be his shield, everyone said, nah, we'll wait. If and when Iran strikes, we'll be right there, buddy, right there next to you. But we sure as hell are not going to strike first. Netanyahu in Donald Trump, much in the same way Putin looks at his diaper ass, is like, this is the idiot I've been waiting for. This is the one that all you have to do is flatter. All you have to do is say no one else had the guts to do what I believe is right. Then you have Hegseth, who is an Islamophobe and just wants to blow up all Muslims. You have Lindsey Graham, who gets a fucking hard-on for the idea of blowing up the Middle East. You have Jared Kushner that's just looking for another $1 billion because there is never enough money to be made, enough money to steal. Everybody, again, much in this Epstein syndicate, always has their own agendas, but they need a puppet. You see, Donald Trump doesn't have any religious grounding. He doesn't have any faith. He doesn't have any sense. All he knows is consume, 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 take, extract, because he's a greedy son of a bitch who's never been told no. Everyone else, right? They have their real reasons. They're all wrong, but they have genuine reasons and belief systems and ideology. Donald Trump does not. He worships the mirror and money. That's it. So if you can convince him that everyone will worship him, if you can convince him that he'll become even richer, you can pretty much get any fucking thing that you want, including World War III. It's so wild and yet so simple. So senators on oversight on the judiciary were briefed today on what the fuck is going on in Iran. Senator Blumenthal, he went directly to the cameras following the briefing that he got, and I want you to listen to what he says.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions have been unanswered, and I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means, and China also may be assisting Iran.
What I didn't understand, right, aside from just the absolute apathy, right? I'm angry. I'm angry and you're angry. We're not elected officials that have the power to actually gather and do something. I think it's called legislate. Um, and so what I thought was really interesting about Blumenthal's response here is when he says Russia is aiding our enemy. I'm confused. When did Russia become your friend? Did I miss that memo? When Russia and Putin all of a sudden became our friend, and now we're so shocked that our bestie is going behind our back, talking to our enemy? Or have we always known, which is why past administrations never got involved with initiating shit with Iran, because they knew who had Iran's back? Russia and China. And so if you want smoke, literally and figuratively, this would be the fucking way to do it. You have to understand, like, this is the thing that I feel like Americans don't really get. Iran is a millennial old. China, millennials old. Like Russia, old fucking nations. They are about this fucking life. They are about war. They are about defending themselves. Like when you're listening to these foreign ministers talking about, yeah, Donald Trump may have wanted this short-term type of war, but like we're in it for the long haul, because let's be clear, these regimes kill their own people. Okay? They kill their own people. So do you think that they're going to be like, we're going to back off because you're bombing civilians? They fucking bomb civilians. So I find it absolutely, I mean, reckless is not even the word here. But when you're comparing the United States, which is turning 250 years old, if you work from the 1776 clock, right? It's turning 250 years old in comparison to these millennial plus old nations. It's like, again, a toddler trying to steal the lunch money of an adult and thinking that they're going to get away with it. Sure, the toddler can wreak damage, throw shit around, make an absolute mess, and wreak chaos. But at the end of the day, who has the temperament to manage through the chaos? The adult. And the adult in this situation ain't Donald Trump. It's never been. Speaking of where are all the adults, the fucking energy secretary, Chris Wright, decided to take to social media today to put up a post that was absolutely a brazen lie to manipulate the markets. Now, I'm saying that it's about manipulating the markets. You can draw your own conclusion. When Chris Wright posts on social media that a U.S. ship had officially gone through the Strait of Hormuz, which we know is shut down because the Iranians shut it down. And guess what happened in response to the energy secretary saying that a U.S. vessel successfully got through the Strait of Hormuz? Well, folks, the markets loved it. Oil tanked, the idea that war was coming to an end, and started to have some legitimacy. Then guess what happened? He deleted the tweet, which got markets to think things aren't actually going well. And so you can listen to bobblehead Barbie try and like maneuver her way out.
I'm aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the energy secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
Why would the energy secretary post something that was completely untrue and then immediately delete it? I constantly say, follow the money. Was he trying to do a short sale? Because the markets loved it, which means that guess what? In that short frame of time, somebody made a shit ton of money. And that's what all of this is about. That's what really gets me. That's what all of this is about. All of this death, all of this destruction, it's all about this. And so get this. This is so funny and not funny, haha. Donald Trump posts on his broke down social media platform. If Iran has put out any mines in the Hormuz Strait, and we have no reports of them doing so, we want them removed immediately. If for any reason mines were placed and they were not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. If, on the other hand, they remove what they may have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. Is that right? There are, what did he say? No reports of Iran putting down any mines in the strait.
Iran has begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. This is according to two people familiar with the matter. It's another major complication as the world's top oil exporter warns there could be, quote, catastrophic consequences for oil markets if the conflict keeps disrupting ship and oil tanker traffic through the strait. He says beyond upending shipping and insurance, the ongoing disruption could snowball, threatening aviation, agriculture, and other industries. A short time ago, the White House repeated President Trump's promise to provide government-backed insurance as well as naval escorts to keep tankers moving. So far, those shipping companies are resisting traveling through the region while the fighting goes on.
Yeah, because they don't want their ships blown up and their people killed. So they're just not going to go through. So while Donald Trump continues to destabilize the world because of this bullshit war that he was tricked into getting involved in, he's putting out tweets, doing foreign policy, navigating a war via Truth Social post, saying there's been no reports that they put mines down, and then CNN's like, well, there are reports that mines have been put down. Yeah, because Iran is actually not fucking around. And they were unfortunately, severely underestimated. In the meantime, while all of this is happening and Donald Trump is doing his best thumb war on his fucking social media site, here is what Reuters is reporting today. Breaking news. As many as 150 U.S. troops wounded so far in Iran war. That's not what the Pentagon had told us. The casualty figure has not been previously reported. Of course it hasn't. Prior to Reuters' publication of the figure, the Pentagon had only disclosed 8 U.S. personnel seriously injured. 8. In a statement after Reuters published its report, the Pentagon estimated the figure to be approximately 140 and said the vast majority of them were minor. Do you think that we believe them? I sure as fuck don't. Quote, since the start of Operation Epic Fury, approximately 140 service members have been wounded over 10 days of sustained attacks, said Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell. He said 108 of the wounded service members had already returned to duty. Parnell said the 8 seriously wounded service members were receiving the highest level of medical care. It is so awful to be in a place where I don't believe a word that comes out of this administration. I do not believe anything that they say. They could tell me, Danielle, the sky is blue, and now I'm going to question whether or not it actually is. Because you cannot take these people at face value. Because why did it take Reuters to break the news as to how many service members have been wounded over the last 10 days, as opposed to the Pentagon or that fuck shit Pete Hegseth actually briefing the American people rather than trying to look tough on TV and impress his audience of one, Donald Trump? Why wouldn't the Secretary of Defense say, here is an update on where things stand right now. Currently, 150 of our service people have in fact been injured. I do not know the extent to which they have been harmed at this time, but this is where things are. But no, that would require being a grown-up and actually knowing how to do your job. Reuters could not determine the types of injuries and whether they include traumatic brain injuries, which are common after exposure to blasts. Iran has launched retaliatory strikes against U.S. military bases since the start of the conflict on February 28th. It has also struck diplomatic missions in Arab Gulf states, as well as hotels and airports, and damaged oil infrastructure. The Pentagon says the number of Iranian strikes has fallen sharply since the start of the war as the U.S. military bombs Iran's weapon inventories, and kills children. They didn't write that. I just want to remind us. But here is something that is important that I want to bring to your attention. And this comes from Patricia Marins, who is an independent analyst focused on security and defense in Europe and Eurasia. And she posted this on social media. And I think that, again, it is really important to unpack. She writes this: U.S. and Israel don't understand the war they're fighting. Iran is waging an almost perfect asymmetric war, absorbing the attacks, strategically rendering the surrounding bases unusable, destroying radars, and maintaining control of the Strait of Hormuz while still preserving its missile launch capability. And it's doing all of this after losing very little of its Navy, Air Force, or overall arsenal, something we can easily verify by checking the visual evidence of losses. The U.S. and Israel are in an extremely difficult situation because they only know one kind of war: brute force destruction. Now they're facing a strategically well-positioned Iran that is fighting on its own terms and timeline. What did Iran do? It focused on resilience against bombings and kept almost its entire arsenal in large underground bases that the US and Israel have already spent huge amounts of munitions trying to penetrate. I'll say this. So far, Iran has shown very little of what I know of its arsenal. It still has more than 20 models of aquatic drones that it hasn't even put in the water yet. Patricia Marins, independent analyst, defense and security expert, goes on to say this. They didn't study Iran enough and severely underestimated it. Iran is a global leader in missiles and drones alongside Russia and China. The people in Washington were extremely reckless. You can be a complete madman in politics and still get away with it, but that doesn't work in wars. That is all a carefully built strategy for the global market to defeat the US, not Iran. The false numbers coming from CENTCOM are being repeated by many Americans, but this propaganda doesn't change the battlefield reality and isn't degrading Iran any further. Quote, in other asymmetric wars lost by the US, tens of times the amount of bombs dropped on Iran were used. As I have already said here, no one studied those wars, much less the war in Ukraine, where 200,000 tons of missiles, bombs, and drones have already been launched without solving the problem. No, it's not about bombs. I see Iran very determined to continue the war, which creates a massive problem for the Americans. They now have to deal with the global market pressure from the Gulf countries, internal political pressure, inflationary issues, and complications with China and Russia. This is the conflict between raw firepower and strategy. Folks, doesn't that lay it all out? Doesn't that just make sense for people that are failures, that didn't even earn it hires? That they, of course, didn't study Iran because their racism and their Islamophobia doesn't allow them to believe that they could be outwitted by people that they see as quote unquote savages. Do you understand how white supremacy is going to be the death of this country, of this empire? Do you understand that what we are witnessing right now is the last gasps of white nationalism? I said it back in 2016 on election night. This is what this looks like. It looks like an implosion and an explosion happening at the same time. Of course they didn't study. These are people that have cheated their way through life. And to break it down even further, Lawrence Wilkerson, retired U.S. Army colonel and former chief of staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell, says the U.S. is at risk of losing its war on Iran, where it's already, he said, committed major war crimes. And I want you to take a listen, because again, this is coming from a former colonel. Take a listen to what he says about his analysis of the situation.
I come from an administration of George W. Bush and Richard Bruce Cheney that committed war crimes that Colin Powell and his lawyer Will Taft and I agonized over in trying to present some message to the American people about them. This administration has committed more war crimes in the last few days than I think any country since Adolf Hitler committed. And that is an incredible condemnation of this entire process. We have bombed civilians relentlessly. We have bombed a school. We have bombed a hospital. We have struck facilities in the nature of Iran's oil capacity that is now putting black poison all over 10+ million people. And we are essentially not bombing ballistic missile sites and bombing war materiel. We're bombing people. We took a lesson from the IDF, if you will. We are bombing people, as incidentally they are still doing in Gaza and doing now in Lebanon to a fare thee well. These are all war crimes. And one wishes with fond hope that someday we might be called before the bar of justice and have to account for these war crimes. And what you just talked about is a crime also in the eyes of international relations and people who want to keep decent international relations ongoing in the world. We're destroying that. And on top of all of that, and this is the real serious problem here for America, Trump and Hegseth and Rubio and the other entourage of their national security complex have completely misjudged the nature of this war, as has to a certain extent Bibi Netanyahu. This is a country as big as Western Europe with 93 million people, probably 90 million of whom will fight us to the bitter death, who live in terrain that almost killed Alexander the Great. It is entirely inhospitable to military operations, and Trump is actually talking about putting ground forces there. And the only way he will be able to claim any nature of victory is to do that. Only that will be the end of the empire's presence in the Levant and the Middle East in general, because we will not be able to sustain that economically, physically. We do not have the soldiers or Marines to do that. But that's what he's talking about. This is pure nonsense. There was a column in Haaretz yesterday, and the title of the column essentially was Trump will chicken out in this war too. I'm sorry, he's not going to chicken out necessarily. That might be the tone intent he puts to it. He's going to be defeated, as are we.
There you have it. Former colonel, chief of staff under Colin Powell, who knows about war crimes because of the administrations that he served in, is saying that what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio have done over the last 10 days is commit more war crimes than Nazi Germany. What? When we say that we are just so completely fucked here because Donald Trump is I believe in my spirit, friends. These are my thoughts. I believe in my spirit that this draft dodging motherfucker is going to reinstitute the draft. I believe that hundreds, if not thousands, of American soldiers are going to lose their lives for absolutely fucking nothing. I also believe that if Donald Trump reinstates the draft, all hell is going to break loose in this country. Absolute all hell. This is part and parcel with the mass surveillance that the Pentagon is now going to be doing with OpenAI. They are both gearing up for war at home and gearing up for a continued war that they know that they are going to lose abroad. And it is just, mind-blowing how we got here. And also understanding that there are Democrats right now that are going to vote to continue to fund this unwinnable war that was entered into based on vibes. On top of which, the other breaking news today, as Trump moved to kick 2.4 million Americans off of SNAP, his administration spent nearly $9 million on crab legs and lobster. And I wish this was an article from The Onion. Ruben Gallego, Trump is cutting funding for SNAP, but Hegseth just spent $6.9 million on lobster and $2 million on crab legs in 1 month. Oh, this is true, folks. In the month of, I believe it was September, when the Pentagon has to spend all of the money that they haven't spent, that, they're given in bulk by Congress. They don't, as Tupac said, got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Tell you that these radical ideas about, health care for all and education for all and SNAP benefits and infrastructure, that's all socialism. While this motherfucker is eating high on the hog on our goddamn dime. Listen to this shit. Pete Hegseth burned through $93 billion at the end of the fiscal year, including, folks, this is absolutely disgusting, grotesque. $3.5 billion for cable TV. Is the cable TV bringing it in from fucking Mars? $225 million for furniture. Where are you getting it from? Right? Is it gold? $15.1 million for ribeye steak. $6.9 million for lobster tail. $2 million for Alaskan king crab. $1 million for salmon. $140,000 for fucking donuts. $124,000 for ice cream machines. $99,000 for a grand piano. $26,000 for a violin. Violin. $21,750 for handmade Japanese flute. $12,000 for fruit basket stands. Tax season is coming up. We're expected as the American people to fork over what? Billions of dollars of our hard-earned money so that Pete Hegseth could have a steak and lobster tail dinner, so that Kristi Noem could fly and fuck her boyfriend on private jets, so that Donald Trump can gift his cult administration all the same shoes that he wears. They are literally stealing from us and telling us that they can't, we can't afford SNAP and we can't afford this. And Pete Hegseth spent what could be used for the poor on a night of lobster dinners. I'm sure there are hookers and cigars and alcohol all up in that mess as well. When I tell you, like, the biggest revolt should come with Americans saying we're not paying any taxes until Donald Trump and this sick, twisted Epstein regime is out of office. Like, I swear to God, this is what people voted for. You can't put gas in your car right now. Everything is more expensive than it was a fucking year ago. But somehow Fox News, the Republican cult, will say, well, he needed it. How else is he gonna, and will continue to fund the Pentagon through the roof. You can tell the strength of a country by what it is they decide to put their resources towards. And ours is the war machine and the prison industrial complex. And we wonder why we're behind in the world. And I mean like light years behind the rest of the world. But Donald Trump wants to get up and bang his chest and say, we have the biggest military and we're going to show it. We also have the most uneducated people and infrastructure from the fucking 19th century. And what does this all amount to? Well, it amounts to what Rand Paul said out loud on Fox, and where all of this is headed, why Donald Trump is trying to steal an election. Take a listen.
How worried are you that a split Republican Party will only mean losses in the midterm elections? How are you expecting the midterms to play out? And if you do lose the majority, doesn't that put the GOP behind the eight ball in terms of getting anything done, in terms of your priorities?
I don't think a split party is the problem. I think high oil prices will be a problem. I think the 2026 elections already, we are behind the eight ball as far as the electoral process. I think if you add in high gas prices, high oil prices, and if we are still bombing Iran with kinetic action, people don't want to call it war, but if there's still kinetic action that causes oil to be over $100, I think you're going to see a disastrous election.
Wow. All right, Senator, we'll be watching your work, certainly.
You're going to see a disastrous election, which is why Donald Trump has said he ain't passing any other legislation until the SAVE Act is passed, which would disenfranchise 70 million American women. He's not going to do anything, but there's a possibility that he's going to put ICE agents at the polls. He's going to disappear people. He's going to try and do anything. They've already raided Fulton County election offices. They've raided offices in Maricopa, in Arizona. All of this is not making the news or disappearing faster because why? Wag the dog. We're at war. So if you think, right, if Donald Trump, if the Republicans win the midterm elections, which they will because they're going to steal it, just understand that I think that that will be the beginning of a civil war. Folks, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just adding things that 1 + 1 = 2. You are stealing from the American people. You are flaunting it in front of our faces. You want to send our sons and daughters into war. You want to make our lives more expensive. You want to disappear our neighbors. You want to surveil us. And then you want to finally nail in the coffin, steal another election, giving us no voice and no option to your chaotic, cruel, depraved reign. And you think that folks just going to sit around and say, well, we didn't get him in 2026. Maybe we'll get him in 2028. Are we fucking dumb? On top of which, because I'm not going to stop talking about it. Mainstream corporate media may stop talking about it, but I'm not going to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not going to stop talking about the fact that CNN yesterday unearthed the video footage, right, that the Department of Justice has tried to keep from us. I'm not going to stop talking about the credible accusations against Donald Trump that he raped a 13-year-old girl. I'm not going to stop talking about the fact that, now the prison guards were bought off and involved in a cover-up. And now it's maybe he didn't kill himself. Maybe he was murdered. And that Bill Barr went to visit him 4 days before he hung himself. Jeffrey Epstein today, his New Mexico ranch, which was never searched before, is now being searched today in New Mexico. And why is that? Because inside of the Epstein files, there were credible accusations that said that rape, sex trafficking, torture, and yes, murder happened there. And that there are possibly 2 young girls who are buried somewhere in the sprawling 7,600-acre property. This was brought to the attention of the FBI in 2019. And remind me, who was president then? But no investigations were brought up. And so now the folks in New Mexico are saying, we're going to look. Do I think that evidence is still there years later? Probs not. The search is part of the criminal investigation announced by New Mexico Department of Justice on February 19th into allegations of illegal activity at Epstein's ranch prior to Epstein's 2019 death. The state agency said in a statement, the New Mexico Department of Justice appreciates the cooperation of the current property owners in granting access for the search and extends its thanks to the ranch staff for their professionalism. The statement said, we will continue to keep the public appropriately informed, support the survivors, and follow the facts wherever they lead us. Wherever they lead us. Years later. Unbelievable. And lastly, before we get into Town Hall Tuesday, so please do get your questions ready. Folks, write question in all caps followed by your question. It could be about anything. And there is this. Yet another suspicious device was found today in a park near Gracie Mansion, where Mayor Zoran Mamdani and the First Lady of New York live. The bomb squad and bomb-sniffing dogs are on site, and the roads are all shut down. Wishing Mayor Mamdani the best. These lunatics need to be held accountable. Trump's America is going to shit. I mean, Trump's America has been shit, right? Like, unbelievable. But, folks, let me just say before we get into Town Hall Tuesday, this is independent media, and your support and your commitment to this channel and to Damnation means the most to me. It allows me to do the work that I do. So if right now let's just make sure and check that you are subscribed to this channel. It is free. I keep all of my content free for a reason, because critical thinking dies behind a paywall. So some people don't know whether or not they're subscribed. Hit subscribe. It's free. Also, make sure to like, comment, and share on all of your platforms. Help get this show and this channel into more feeds. We have hit 39,000 subscribers, which is just extraordinary, and I could not thank you all enough. You're listening to Pierre whine in the back. So we're gonna jump into Town Hall Tuesday. I want to thank the super stickers and super thanks before we do. Rachel Lockhart, you became a YouTube member. Thank you so much. Ernst, thank you so much for the $5. Appreciate you as always. Creatively Mixed, $9.99. Appreciate you. ARMCC, thank you for the 20 pounds and the international support. Rebecca Lynn, thank you so much for the $20. Eternal Energy, appreciate you, and always your music. Thank you so much for the $19.99. Ernst again, thank you so much for the $5. Susan, our fantastic moderator, thank you for gifting a membership. Jen, thank you so much for the $4.99. And Heartfelt, thank you for the $3. Now, folks, let's jump into Town Hall Tuesday. Hello, and welcome to Town Hall Tuesday, where you get to ask me any question. It could be about today's topics or just anything in general. Please give Pierre a treat. I would, but I'm live. But thank you so much for the $20, Shirley. Okay, let's jump into your questions. Question: have you read If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies? Why Superhuman AI Would Kill Us All by Eliezer Yudowski and Nate Soares? No, I have not. I will put that on my reading list. I am really paying attention to watching so many podcasts and videos and reading so much up on what is happening with the AI evolution. And we will get back to discussing that more here on the show. So thank you for the recommendation. Question: will Trump stage a terror attack on U.S. citizens and blame it on Iran? Well, I actually posted that over the weekend and said it is a horrible thought to have. But it is a very real one, because I also believe that he staged the attack against himself. The man that loves the WWE and loves performance, right? I believe that he absolutely would. And again, we're dealing with religious zealots, sycophantic lunatics that believe that they are ushering in the rapture. So if they were to stage an attack, they could tell themselves, well, it's God's will. Like, that's the kind of psychopaths that we're dealing with. So I wouldn't put it past them. Question: what was your overall assessment of the Unrivaled League this past season? Thank you for a women's basketball question. I loved it. I attended the semifinals at Barclays Center. Unrivaled brought in $45 million in revenue. It was also the most watched. It's only season 2. It was incredible, and I'm very excited about the end of this week and USA Women's FIBA games. And excited to watch that. That is like my pleasure right now. Question: I believe a nuclear weapon will set off in the Middle East by the time by one of the clowns currently in charge and running amok. What do you think? I pray to God, Gus, that is not the case. Catastrophic. I mean, we're talking about end of days type of things. And again, these people did not think clearly about this war at all. And so the potential for that is very, very high. Question: do you think this war will eventually end up on U.S. soil? I really hope not. But I think that it is possible, right? Not for missiles to reach us, although if Russia gets involved, we know that Russia is the closest to us. And so Russia's missiles could hit us. So time will tell. Question: do you think USA will survive as is? No, I do not. I think that we are witnessing the crumbling of an empire, and I think that what comes next will be up to us. But as is, no, I think America is cooked. Mandy, what are you reading right now? Oh, I'm reading a couple of things. I am reading Sage Warriors by Valerie Kaur. I am reading the book called Salt Crop, and it's a fiction book, and I can't remember the name of the author right now off the top of my head. I read a couple of books at one time. I'm one of those people. And I'm also reading another political book. I'll have to remember the name of it, but it's basically all about decolonization and decolonizing the mind. So I'll get that one name. Wretched Earth is the other one that I'm reading. Is he running? Philip, question: what are your thoughts on Lev Parnas running for Congress in Florida District 27? I had no idea that he was running. So what do I think about that? I don't have a lot of thoughts on that right yet because I did not know, but I will think about it. Question: who knows? Do you think the Democratic Party can be reformed, or is it hopelessly naive to expect anything but more of the same warmongering? I think that the Democratic Party needs to go away. And I think that we need a people's party. I think it could be working families. It could be the Green Party. It needs to be something that is radical in its thought that, all humans matter, don't take corporate money. But the current state of the Democratic Party needs to be culled. So those are my thoughts. Looking for other questions. What will it take to have Schumer and Jeffrey step down? It will take them being primaried by candidates that actually have the ability to win. I do not think that they will ever actually step down. Susan, what is your favorite flower / flowers? Spring is coming. I know. I've spent 2 days walking in my favorite park yesterday and today, and I realized how much it is so important for me to, one, walk, be in nature. It really helps regulate my nervous system, to take in the fresh air, and it matters a great deal, particularly where I am in the grief, trauma cycle of all of it. My favorite flowers are hydrangea, chrysanthemums, ranunculus, I think that's how you pronounce them. I love big layered flowers, or big puffy flowers. They're my favorite. And I'm very much looking forward to cherry blossom season. Looking for a last question as we close out here today so that I can go take this very whiny dog for a walk. Oh, this is a good one to end on. Question: have you started or plan on growing your own food? So, I live in the city, and while I do have a private outdoor space, I also have lots of squirrels and other animals that come around. So I've tried to like grow things, but what I would really like are one of those hydroponic things that I can have, like you see underneath James Baldwin. I would like to try one of those with the lighting, at least to do some lettuce or what have you. My sister, she was our like our little farmer and was growing, stuff. And she made my mom grow some cucumbers and tomatoes and things like that. But yeah, we should probably, sure enough, get back into it because all of our food is being poisoned. All right, dear friends. That was a fantastic town hall. I appreciate all of you. Sherry, thank you so much. I'm glad to see Pierre. Thank you so much for the $10. Y'all, tomorrow is Wednesday. It is a supersized day on my Substack. 12 p.m. I'm with Jared for the check-in. 3 p.m. I am with Wajahat Ali, my co-host for Democracy-ish midweek check-in. And then 5 p.m. I am back here for the Danielle Moody Show. So do make sure to follow all the things. As always, I appreciate all of you. Power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these incredibly dangerous times, and with this very whiny dog, stay sane and safe. I will see you back here tomorrow or in all the places on the Damn Digest. If you can, think about becoming a paid subscriber to this YouTube channel or to the Damn Digest. Appreciate all of you. Be well, take care of yourselves and each other.